If we do not condemn, but regard it, be aware of it, then it begins to open up the great content of that action. You experiment with this and you will see it for yourself. Just be aware without any sense of justification. Which may rather appear negative, but it is not negative. On the contrary, it has the quality of passivity, which is direct action. You will find that if you will experiment with it. After all, if you want to understand something, you have to be in a passive mood, haven't you? You can't keep on thinking about it, speculating about it, or questioning it. You have to be sensitive enough to receive the content of what it has. It's like being a sensitive photographic plate. If I want to understand you, I have to be passively aware. And you begin to tell me all your story. Surely that is not a question of capacity or specialization. Because through that, in that process, we begin to understand ourselves. Not only the superficial layers of our consciousness, but the deeper, which is much more important. Because there are all our motives, our intentions, our hidden pursuits, demands, anxieties, fears, appetites. Outwardly you may have them all under control, but inwardly they are boiling. Until those have been completely understood through awareness, obviously there cannot be freedom. There cannot be happiness. There is no intelligence. So, is intelligence a matter of specialization? Intelligence being the total awareness of our process. And is that intelligence to be cultivated through any form of specialization? Because that's what's happening, isn't it? You are listening to me thinking that I'm a specialist. Probably. I hope not. The priest, the doctor, the engineer, the industrialist, the businessman, the professor. We have that mentality of all that specialization. And we think to realize the highest form of intelligence, which is truth, which is God, which cannot be described, to realize that, we think we have to make ourselves specialists. We study, we group, we search out. And with that mentality of the specialist, or looking for the specialist, we approach ourselves. We study ourselves in order to develop a capacity which will help us to unravel our conflicts, our misery. So our problem is, if we are at all aware whether the conflicts and the miseries and the sorrows of our daily existence can be solved by any other, by another. And if they cannot, how is it possible for us to tackle them? To understand a problem, obviously, requires certain intelligence. And that intelligence cannot be derived or cultivated through specialization. But that intelligence comes into being when we are passively aware of the whole process of ourselves. To be aware of ourselves without choice, without choosing what is right and what is wrong in the total awareness. Because when one is passively aware, you will see out of that passivity, which is not idleness, which is not sleep, but extreme alertness, you will see when one is extremely alert, passively aware, the problem has quite a different significance, which means there is no longer identification with the problem. And therefore there is no judgment of the problem. And hence the problem begins to reveal its contents. And if you are able to do that constantly, continually, every problem can then be solved fundamentally, not superficially. And that is the difficulty. Because most of us are incapable of being passively aware. To let the problem tell the story without your interpreting the problem. To look at the problem dispassionately, if you like to use that word. But unfortunately we're not capable of doing that, because we want a result from that problem. We want an answer. We are looking to an end. Or we try to translate that problem according to our pleasure or pain. Or we have an answer already, how to deal with that problem. Therefore we approach a problem which is always new with the old pattern. The challenge is always new, but our response is always the old. And our difficulty is to meet the challenge adequately. That is, fully. And one can meet the challenge, the problem, fully, which is the problem of relationship. There is no other problem. To meet the problem of relationship with its constantly varying demands, to meet it rightly, to meet it adequately, one has to be aware passively. And this passivity is not a question of determination. of will, of discipline. But to be aware that we are not passive. And that is the beginning. We are to be aware that we want a particular answer for a particular problem. Surely that's the beginning. To know ourselves in relationship to the problem, how we deal with the problem. Then as we begin to know ourselves in relationship to the problem, how we respond, what are our various prejudices, demands, pursuits in meeting that problem. To be aware of it will reveal the process of our own thinking, of our own inward nature. And from that, there is a release. So, as life is a question, is a matter of relationship, and to understand that relationship which is not static, there must be an awareness which is equally pliable. Therefore, there must be an awareness which is passive, not aggressively positive. And as I said, this capacity for passive awareness is not come through any form of discipline, through any practice. But to be merely aware from moment to moment of our thinking and feeling, which is not only while we are awake, but we will see as we go into it deeper, we begin to dream. It begins to throw up all kinds of symbols, which we translate as dreams. So we open the door into the hidden, which is already known. But to find the unknown, we must go beyond the known. Surely that is our difficulty. Reality is not a thing that is knowable by the mind. Because the mind is the result of the known, of the past. Therefore the mind must understand itself and its functioning, its process. And only then is it possible to know, is it possible for the unknown to be. All religions have insisted on some kind of self-discipline to moderate the instincts of the brute in man. Through self-discipline, the saints and mystics have asserted that they have attained godhood. Now you seem to imply that such disciplines are a hindrance to the realization of God. I am confused. Who is right in this matter? All religions have insisted on some kind of self-discipline to moderate the instincts of the brute in man. Through self-discipline, the saints and mystics have asserted that they have attained godhood. Now you seem to imply that such disciplines are hindrances to the realization of God. I am confused. Who is right in this matter? Surely it is not a question of who is right in this matter.